Okay, hi guys, welcome to Sunday Stretch and Flow. So today, just a suggested pose to start out would be reclined butterfly. So if you have a towel or a blanket, kind of rolling it up so it almost is in like the shape of a bolster. If you have a bolster, you can use that as well. And then if you just allow that to come like right at the base of your tailbone, and then laying down, bringing soles of the feet together. And then you can use your blocks to kind of prop up your legs to whatever position feels good. Just making sure that you're not creating too much tension. A nice little stretch is good, but just moving slow into the hip creases, slow into the inner thighs. So just make sure that wherever you're at, that you're really comfortable. You can always do one leg at a time. I can let you know. I'll go ahead and watch the clock if you wanted to do one leg, and I'll tell you when we're halfway. But just wherever you are, begin to let yourself soften. Let your body come completely connected to your mat, to earth. Just taking a moment here to notice your breath. Not yet changing or directing, but just allowing your breath to draw you into your internal landscape. And start to feel as if breath were grounding you. So almost as if you could breathe up from the earth and really feel the points where earth is holding you up here. And then just naturally let that breath deepen, broaden, feeling the inhale expand. And again, as if you could breathe not just through your nostrils, but along your back body. If you could draw breath up from all points that body is connected to earth, really filling up. And then as you exhale, that breath just seeps back down into earth, kind of filtering through, cleansing. Each exhale, finding some other areas that tension can be released and softened. And today, just kind of focusing on that connection to nature. Khalil Gibran said, "Forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair." Each exhale, let it just drift back into the earth. And then here, if you wanted to, if you have one leg stretched out and one leg bent, go ahead and switch those out. Continue that deep, full, expansive inhales. Again, as if body could receive breath from all points that is connected to the ground. Sometimes when we get busy, we forget that there's elements all around us that can keep us grounded and can soften, and they're simple. Just taking a moment to feel breath, feel air against your skin, feel sun, maybe even earth beneath your feet. Whatever intention that you brought, whatever mantra, maybe it's just I am connected to life all around me. I am held up by earth. I am safe. I am energized. Taking a few more deep, expansive inhales. Let that breath really fill up all the way to the crown of your head, drawing in breath. As you exhale, let the earth draw out and filter through all that you need to release. And then taking a moment before we draw our legs back up, just bringing those arms making up so elbows can stay towards the ground though, just taking it slow and circling out the wrists. And using the hands, maybe bringing them to the outside of the thighs to help bring those knees back up, soles of the feet towards the mat. And you can move those blocks off to the side if you had blocks. And you can even take the blanket out from under if that feels better. Bringing the soles of the feet about mat width apart. And then we'll just gently start to windshield wiper those knees from side to side. Letting breath initiate each movement. And again, taking a little inventory here, maybe noticing that maybe the bottom of your foot comes up off earth. And then paying close attention as it rolls back. Just allowing yourself to get really connected and grounded today. Allowing our minds to connect with nature around us, to help slow down, to help become present. And bring those knees back up and drawing them gently in the chest. And here might be the point where that towel or blanket feels like a bit too much. So drawing those knees into the chest and then starting to make some big circles. So hands on the top of the knees, just even a little gentle, drawing down to create a little bit more kind of pressure into that hip socket, starting to get that synovial joint fluid in the hips. Lots of breath. So maybe even consider the outward on an inhale, exhale, or vice versa. And then you can reverse the circle. We'll bring that left sole of the foot down towards the mat. Draw that right knee into chest. Give it a nice little squeeze. Then let that right knee drift towards the outside of your rib cage. Bringing the sole of the foot up. So coming into half happy baby. You can extend the left leg or keep sole of the foot towards the mat. And again, we're going to create that little bit of tension by pressing the sole of the feet towards the ceiling, the hand creating some resistance on an inhale. Then as you exhale, slowly turn down that resistance, soften, feel the knee, soften the shoulder. Just feel everything kind of release down to the mat. Big, deep inhale and a cleansing exhale. almost as if gravity could draw that tension right down, kind of melting it. And then just playing a little bit here. So bending into the knee, and you can take hold of the ankle instead, and then straightening just any amount. It doesn't need to be perfectly straight, but just kind of feeling to the space behind that right leg, flexing into the foot and making sure that you're not kind of pulling at that foot, so you're not pulling the ankle in a strange direction. So if it helps to hold below the ankle here, that might be a good idea. And bringing that leg a little bit more towards center. Nice, slow draw into the chest just for a little bit. Then release. If left sole of the foot is extended, bring that to the mat, crossing the right leg over, then bringing those arms out to the side like wings. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, let those knees drift over to the left, right shoulder blade stays on the mat, and then take your gaze over to the right. And we're going to inhale, come back up to center. As you exhale, knees go to the right, take your gaze to the left. So just almost like a windshield wiper here. And if you really wanted to add a little bit more, you can bring that right palm of the hand down as the knees go to the left palm up, and then switch that when it comes to the other side. So getting hands, knees, neck, it's all kind of working together. And coming back gently towards center, drop both knees towards the chest, nice little squeeze. You can let that right foot go. You can extend or sole the foot towards the mat. Draw that left knee out to the outer edge of your rib cage, bringing that left sole of the foot up. Wherever you're taking hold here, even if it's just below the ankle or the calf, you can still create that resistance. On an inhale, let the foot try and reach the ceiling as the hand creates that resistance. We're just trying to light up the back of the leg. And then as you exhale, slowly soften. Feel that knee, shoulder, even let your face soften a little bit more here. Let each exhale melt a little bit more tension. Maybe you've even noticed, because the weather, a bit more of a calling, like it's the outside is calling you. I think we have that opportunity here a little bit backwards. A lot of people in fall and in winter start to stay in and kind of huddle, but we get to go outside and release all that energy. And then again, just kind of playing so you could take hold of beneath the ankle, just a little bending and straightening into the leg, keeping that knee towards the outside of your rib. So you might notice it more inner thigh as well as back of the leg. I think I kind of was drawn to this messaging because I went out and noticed a lot of my pomegranates looked awful. And then they were covered in these leaf-legged bugs, and then release that, crossing that left leg over the right. Bring the arms out to the side. Big, deep inhale in. As you exhale, keeping shoulders kind of planted towards the mat, let your knees drift over to the right and gaze goes over to the left. And then start that windshield wipering, head in one direction, knees in the other. And if it feels good to you, can kind of do that reverse of the palms up, palms down. But I kind of realized I hadn't been paying attention to almost anything outside. All of myself was just wrapped up. I wasn't slowing down, wasn't paying attention. One more time, each side. And if it feels good, you could do one palm up, one palm down, just kind of getting all of that movement, all of that opposite. And then come back towards center, bringing those knees up now about 90 degrees. And we'll bring arms overhead, but take a moment here, kind of readjusting hips and feel into your core. So taking a deep breath into that space between your hip points. And as you exhale, see if you can't firm up that core, almost as if you could take your hip points, drawing them towards your belly button. If you flex into your feet, it kind of helps feel into that space. And you know what, we're gonna bring arms up, just kind of like dead bug here, arms up. And then as you inhale, bring that right hand overhead, let that left heel start to float to the mat. Keep that core nice and engaged so that low back is drifting towards the mat. Exhale, coming back up. Inhale, this time that right heel starts to float to the mat, left hand overhead. Exhale, coming back up. So that core is staying nice and firm, and just go back and forth here with your breath. I just realized this is dead bug. That's what all my, I feel kind of bad, but that's what all those leaf leg guys are going to be, dead bugs. Inhale. Keeping that core engaged, so almost as if you could draw your hip points towards each other. Firming up core, but feeling really rooted down, as if the earth was drawing you gently toward itself. One more time each side. And bring those hands and feet just up and start to make some movements. Or if it feels better, that might have been a lot on your hip flexors, you can draw knees into chest, whatever feels best. Fan out fingers, fan out toes, then draw them in, maybe a little back and forth. Drawing knees to chest, a little side to side here if that feels good to you on your low back, or you can make some circles as well, or even just some half circles back and forth. And then as you're ready, finding one side, gently rolling over to that side, and then we'll press ourselves up and we're going to come directly to table. So if you like to have your towel or your blanket underneath your knees, go ahead and do so. This time we're going to bring our knees closer together. So instead of having them directly underneath your hips, bring them closer towards the center. Hands can be out, even a little bit beyond shoulders, fanning those fingers. Bring that low belly towards your mid-back, crown of the head reaches forward. And then we're going to start making some big circles in the hips. Using that breath. Sylvia Plath, one of my favorite quotes, I felt my lungs inflate with the rush of scenery, the air, the mountains, the trees. I thought, this is what it is to be happy. Keep that circling in any space that feels particularly tight, or even if it feels really good, maybe there's no tightness, it just feels really good. You can spend a little bit more time there. And then once you've had enough in that direction, begin to reverse the direction of those circles. Once again, noticing that space. Maybe there's some place that calls you to spend a little bit more time. But as you're there, remember to infuse that with breath. that full deep inhales and cleansing exhales. Any space that needs a little bit more time. And then keeping those knees kind of together, tucking the toes. We're just going to sit back on them briefly. So to open up the backs of the feet, bring those toes under, maybe even opening up the pinky toes, sitting back on our feet, taking a nice big inhale, reach those arms up. And as you exhale, clasp hands behind the back. Keep that tailbone soft. Think of pubic bone to belly button. Then as you inhale, open up the chest. If it feels okay to lift the chin slightly. Exhale, maybe unhinge your jaw, let that sigh out. Then coming forward back into table, this time bringing the knees so they're more directly under your hips, hip width apart. Some cat-cows. So as you inhale, the hips lift, the belly sinks down, heart shines through, chin comes up. As you exhale, tuck that tailbone. You can soften into the earth even, and then keep exhale, press into earth. Let that spine start to kind of unfurl, open up the front body, then open up the back body. Maybe even really noticing how your hands can root down and press deeper, creating a deeper stretch. And coming back to a neutral spine. This time we're going to sit back. You can keep your toes tucked under. You can open them up, whatever feels good to you. We're going to be coming up and down onto high knees. So whatever feels best, just allow your shoulder blades to roll down your back. And we'll take a nice inhale, coming up high on those knees. Reach those arms overhead. As you exhale, let the chin kind of, almost as if you could drag down the full length of your body. Bring those hands behind you. We're just going to briefly touch the very top of the head down towards the mat, using that full range of exhale. Then as you inhale, kind of press those knees down into earth. Feel torso rise back up. You can reach arms up. A couple more times like that before we fully land in that rabbit pose. Just barely let the top of the head touch down. Inhale, press the lower half down. Let it sink into earth. Inhale, reach up. And this time we're going to stay down towards the bottom. So as if you could kind of gently drag down the front of your body. Bring those hands back to the back of the feet, top of the head, barely touching down on the mat still. Take an inhale, draw that low belly towards your spine. Let those hips drift up. As your hands are holding on to your heels, feel that space between shoulder blades broaden. As you exhale, you can untuck those toes if they're tucked and just sit back. Let your shoulder blades drift down your back. And close your eyes. See if you kind of feel a little bit of that rush of blood flow. Big deep inhale, cleansing exhale. Release your jaw. And taking those hands forward into table, we're going to come all the way into downward dog, but moving nice and slow. So fan out the fingers. They can be slightly forward from the shoulders. Tuck your toes under. Press the mat forward. Send your hips high. You can keep knees bent to just kind of take a moment. Let shoulder blades glide down your back. Let those biceps come by your ears, and then slowly begin to straighten into the knees, heels soften towards the mat. Take a moment to inhale. Again, let that breath draw up from the earth, so hands and feet are connected to earth. And let that breath travel up the back body towards your tailbone. And as you exhale, as if you could just give all that back to the earth. Let the ground filter it out. And then as you're ready, let kind of your left foot get nice and weighty, and inhale, raise up that right leg. As you exhale, soften the knee, soften the elbows straight back, and then press the earth away, placing that right foot behind right hand. If you don't have something beneath your knee, you can then lower that left knee down to the mat nice and gently. Feel free to stay with those forearms on the top of the thigh, or you can bring 2 blocks on either side. Just make sure that that right knee isn't going to be on the toes. You can bring arms all the way up. Shoulder blades soften down your back. Again, find a little bit of energy here between the right heel, left knee, a little scissoring action. Soften the tailbone, then allow that drift forward of the hips, just to keep that low back in a little bit more of a neutral position. As you exhale, you can bring hands on either side of blocks. Send those hips back. That front knee can stay bent. Low belly, bottom of the ribs can stay towards the top of the thigh. As you're here, find an inhale and a wave of that spine. So as if you could draw up from the pelvic floor to find length, and then let that heart melt down. And here you can even play with maybe flexing that foot upwards or bringing sole of the foot down. And coming forward again, find that length. So if you're here on blocks, which for where we're going might be really good, draw upwards. So drawing that breath up from the pelvic floor through the crown of the head, you can bring that right hand towards the inside. So maintaining all that length that you just created, shoulder blades gliding down your back. Then allow those elbows maybe to soften down. Another good trick here too is to bring those blocks off and forward, especially if this is uncomfortable on the back. Find that nice wave, bringing those blocks way out and then bending the elbows straight out. Kind of another way to come into lizard so we're not crunching in here. Sometimes this helps to keep all that length. Big, deep inhales, cleansing exhales. Find somewhere that you're creating tension. Maybe it's your face. Maybe it's the tops of your shoulders. And allowing ourselves to become present to nature allows us to draw inwards as well. Big, deep inhale, cleansing exhale. And then walking that torso up nice and gently, and maybe a little back and forth here just to kind of soften all that. Maybe there was a little tension created. Then bringing both hands on either side of that right foot, untucking the back toes and stepping that right foot back to downward facing dog. Take a nice big deep inhale and cleansing and clearing exhale. As you're ready, you can let that right foot take on a little bit more weight, so much so that maybe the left foot just floats up, As you exhale, come up high on those toes, soften the elbows and the knees, press the earth away, place left foot behind, left hand, right knee sinks down. And you can stay here, forearms to the top of the thigh. You can stay here on blocks, shoulder blades gliding down your back. You can come all the way up, wherever you're at, that slight little magnetic pull between that heel and knee. Softening tailbone, then allow those hips to sink down a little, making sure that the knee doesn't go over the toes. Big deep inhale, cleansing and releasing exhale. On your next exhale, both hands come in on either side. Then send those hips back. Front knee can stay bent. Low belly, bottom of the ribs to the thigh. On an inhale, find that length, drawing up from the pelvic floor all the way to the crown of the head. And then maybe that heart can sink down. Just keeping some length here. Allow the tops of the shoulders to soften. Then coming forward, once you reach that forward space, take an inhale, once again, draw up from the pelvic floor, let that spine kind of unfurl and lengthen. You can bring that left arm to the inside, keeping all that length, and then lower the elbows down. Shoulder blades glide down your back. Or another way is to also kind of reach forward and wide from your mat, creating all that length, and then bend the elbows out. Still getting into those hips. Maybe even just becoming curious, seeing which one of these feels best to your back. Shoulder blades gliding down your back. See if there's somewhere you can't soften. When we get into the hips, sometimes we clench up in other areas. Maybe there's some energy you're expending that we can soften. Wherever you're at, slowly bring that torso back up. Just a little flow back and forth. And bringing both hands on either side. They can be on blocks or the floor. Lifting up that back leg, coming back to downward facing dog. Fanning out your fingers, fanning out the toes. Big inhale up from the earth. As you exhale, make some movement in your head to soften that space in your neck. As you're ready, take and look forward. As you inhale, come up high on those toes. Feel the tailbone tuck under. We're going to wave the spine forward into plank. Using that whole length of breath, maybe into the exhale. Then slowly bend into your knees, coming into table. Inhale, wave that spine long. Nice neutral spine. As you exhale, we're going to lower all the way down. Bringing those elbows just underneath the shoulders. Tops of the toes are pressing into the mat so much so that your kneecaps kind of light up. And keep that inhale going, waving the spine long, softening tailbone. Think of pubic bone to belly button. Gently draw those elbows back, shoulder blades glide down your back. Chin lifts. Big, deep inhale. As you exhale, release your jaw. If this feels good to you, you can bring palms of the hands down, and if your back is softened up enough, you can press hands and kind of keep lifting, but only move so far as feels good for your back today. Or not at all. Mind saying, nope, this is good. So just move with your space today. Shoulder blades guiding down your back. Legs are nice and strong. 2 more big inhales and cleansing exhales. Keep all that activity in the legs. Then soften down. Bring those hands back by your sides. Firming up the core first. Shoulder blades gliding down your back. We're going to use the core to press up. Bring those knees wide, toes together, down, child's pose, sorry. Nice big inhale, cleansing exhale, a few breaths here. Just allow your body to kind of soften into the earth again. Maybe even allow your mind to kind of drift to your favorite space in nature, whatever that is. Maybe it's just right out your back door, the ocean, the desert, the mountains. And as you're ready, taking a look forward, walking those hands forward, fanning out the fingertips, coming into table, tucking the toes, and up into downward facing dog. If you have a blanket, you might want to move it out of the way. Having those blocks near the front of your mat, just in case. Big, deep inhale. Cleansing and clearing exhale. Allow your shoulder blades to come to a neutral position. Taking a look forward on the mat, taking a deep bend in the knees, and then allow those feet to find their way towards the top, any way that you'd like. Feet hip width apart. Deep bend in the knees. As you forward fold your low belly and ribs coming to the top of your thighs, just spending a moment here and forward fold. Feel that low back release. You can sway from side to side. And as you're ready, we'll glide those hands up to the shins. Find a little half lift. So crown of the head forward, tailbone back. Bring the weight back in your heels, the weight back in your hips. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale, hands coming to heart center. Allow your shoulder blades to ease down your back. And then feel your feet into earth. So lifting up those toes. Feel your, just behind the big toe, just behind the pinky toe, and your heel soften into earth. You can sway from side to side, then let your toes release. As you feel your feet anchoring down, then start to press down into earth and notice the crown of your head rising up. So shoulders are stacked over hips, ears over shoulders, feeling like a long, tall mountain. Inhale, scoop those arms up. As you exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Take a nice big inhale and a half lift. As you exhale, plant those hands. You can take a chaturanga here if you'd like, or just soften into downward dog for a moment. Then as you're ready, inhale, let that right leg float up. As you exhale, soften everything down. Bring that right foot, we're gonna come into warrior two. So that back heel spins. Bend into the back knee. Use the core and press down into earth to draw all the way up into that strong warrior two. Shoulder blades gliding down your back. Gaze over those right fingertips. As you're ready, take an inhale. Let that left hand float down. Right hand reaches up. Exhale, come back to warrior two. Inhale, right forearm to the top of the right thigh. Reach that left arm over. Keep that hip open, shoulder open, and keep those legs nice and strong. So energy on the knife edge of the left foot, heels pressing forward. Back into that strong warrior two. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, we're gonna windmill that right hand down, left hand down, coming into like a low runner's lunge. And here's where the blocks might come in handy. Same as we did that lizard, if you reach forward. So here in this position, find your core. So feet are definitely separated. And then reach those hands forward. Take a big inhale up from the pelvic floor. Wave that spine long, almost as if water were kind of rushing through. You can feel your core draw up. As you exhale, find that sinking low. Draw your elbows out. Inhale, let that wave come underneath you. Spine gets nice and long. Exhale, lower down. One more time. Inhale it up. Exhale. Lower it down. Placing those hands back down on the mat. Send that right foot coming into downward facing dog. Take a nice big inhale. Cleansing and clearing exhale. Maybe moving the head and neck around. If you'd like, you can do a Chaturanga here. Totally your practice. It's your Sunday. Then we'll come back to downward dog. And then as you're ready, inhale. Let that left leg float up. As you exhale, soften to earth. Bring that left foot behind left hand. Soften the back foot down. Bend into the knee. Draw up from the pelvic floor into warrior two. Nice and strong legs kind of buoying you up. As you exhale, shoulder blades glide down your back. On your next inhale, let that left hand float down. Exhale it back to warrior two. Inhale that left arm to the top of the left thigh. Reach the right arm over, keeping those hips and shoulders open. Exhale it back to warrior two. Take a big deep inhale here. As you exhale, windmilling back to that kind of runner's lunge, getting strong here. So letting the core pull up. Inhale, find that length, almost as if water were rushing underneath you. And then you exhale, lower down. Inhale it up, reaching out and beyond your mat. Exhale, sinking into those hips. One more time, inhale it up. Exhale. Placing those hands down on your mat, coming back to downward facing dog, or you can take a chaturanga here if you'd like. Cleansing, clearing breath. You can have a little child's pose for a couple breaths. Whatever this Sunday and your body is feeling like. Then we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Taking a look forward, take a nice deep bend in your knees. Then bringing those feet back towards the front of your mat, forward fold, weight back in those heels and hips. Bend in the knees. Inhale, find a little half lift. Exhale, forward fold. As you inhale, send the weight back in heels and hips. Use your core to draw yourself all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. A little balancing today. So a little tree pose. It's almost like we can't do something on nature without tree pose, right? So coming to the front of your mat, letting that right foot, again, as if you could lift up the toes and feel behind the big toe, behind the pinky toe, and the heel just sinking down into earth. Lower the toes. Feel that press down, light up. Crown of the head reaches up. And you can have a block handy, bringing the toes to the top of a block, but letting that knee come open, keeping those hips square. So we're still pressing down. So you're not sinking into the hip, but it's almost like this hip was lifting off the thigh bone. Sole of the foot can come towards the calf. Maybe it comes to the inner thigh. Always depends on what pants you're wearing, right? You can even kind of do the lotus where it comes into the hip crease and opens. I don't think that's available for me today. Keeping your gaze on one point in front of you. And then as you're ready, maybe those arms float up. Fanning out the fingers. Arms can reach even higher. You kind of wanted to work on that balance a little bit more, shifting those gaze, lifting the head upwards. You can move the arms as well. That'll definitely rock your balance. Big deep inhale in. As you exhale slowly, very, very slowly, let that tree come down. Shake out those legs. Whenever I think of nature too, I always think of the first sutra. No, I'm going to forget it. Yes, Atta Yoga Anahasanam, which means the yoga begins now. So bringing left foot now, fanning at the toes, taking a moment to really root in, feel the feet, foot, behind the big toe, behind the pinky, the heel first. And when you find that anchoring, really coming and lifting up out of it. So let the foot root down so your hip bone is coming off. We're not sinking down, but letting that rooted nature of our foot lift up. You can bring right foot to a block, bring the toes to the block, letting the knee drift out. Make sure the gaze is fixed on one point and feel all this first, and then maybe the sole of the foot comes to the calf, maybe it comes to the upper thigh. And if you fall out of your tree, it's fine. Move back into it, but layering again, finding that length, letting those branches reach out. Keep that foot anchoring down. Keep that hip bone lifting upwards. So there's almost a polarizing down and up. If you'd like, you can take gaze up. But the yoga starts now also means that we're drawing in. It talks about the atoms. We're learning from all that's around us all the time. All of nature, all of self. And as you're ready, slowly, slowly releasing back down. Shaking out the feet. Let's do a little bit of kind of bouncing. Also kind of helps letting gravity. So feet stay rooted in the toes and in the ball of the feet. And we're just lifting up the heels and letting kind of a bounce. A little bit of twisting from side to side if that feels good. So just a little bit of pressure on those heels helps melt away. Also kind of helps the bones as well. You can shake hands up. Shake it all around. And then soften back down. Bring soles or toes same direction as your knees, but a little bit wider than hip width, coming into Malasana. So if you'd like to have a block, placing it just behind you. And then once again, feel feet root down so crown of the head reaches up. You can bring forearms to the top of the thighs. Taking a moment to settle in here. As the heart reaches upwards, tailbone is reaching back. You can bring elbows to the inside and just kind of hang out here, pressing knees into elbows, elbows into knees. You can let that seat sink down and rest on a block. Pressing elbows into knees, knees into elbows, crown of the head is lifting. You can even release that block if it feels good to you. Letting ourselves kind of be drawn into texture, temperature, color, all that pieces of nature, just to give ourselves time to reflect. Take another deep inhale here. Feel that inhale coming up from the earth into your hips, into the crown of your head. And as you exhale, just soften. Release all the way down. Nice and easy. If you'd like, you can sit up on the edge of a folded up blanket or towel, just to create a little bit more space, coming into staff pose. So bringing the feet forward, flexing to your feet. You can have a block if you'd like. You can have a strap. I didn't tell you guys to bring a strap, but if you'd like, you can use it. Feel the sit bones root down, maybe even moving out any bit of extra flesh. Feel crown of the head reach up. There's an internal rotation of the legs. So legs are feeling really strong. Just sitting here is a lot if you're engaging the legs. Sitting down and crown of the head reaching up. Pretty intense. If you'd like, you can let that heart melt forward. You may even notice those hip flexors kind of turn on and pull. If that's the case, I would recommend staying up. Mine just did that. Shoulder blades slide down your back. Lots of energy here because we're just going to soften in a second. As you exhale, just release all of that coming down towards the length of your mat. And once again, windshield wiper the knees. Let go of all that tension you created. And almost to see if you can't feel in and notice the effects of the balancing, the effects of that last pose, how quickly you can release from it, or what it feels like. Maybe you're noticing tension still. Bringing those knees back up towards center. Taking another deep inhale. Drawing that breath between your hips all the way up to the crown of your head. As you exhale, release your jaw, side out. Draw the right knee into the chest. Extend the left leg down the length of the mat. Taking that right arm out to the side. And then very gently drawing right knee over to the left. Right shoulder blade stays down. Gaze can go over towards the right. And again, notice here if there's somewhere that your body is hovering above your mat and resisting gravity, just see if you can't coax it into letting go. And as you're ready, slowly bring that knee back up towards center. And then we're just going to hold on to the knee in the right hand and let it drift out to the right. Maybe even a little back and forth into the hip socket. And then exchanging, drawing the left knee in, extending the right leg out. Give that knee a little squeeze. Take the left hand out. Gently draw that knee over towards the right, maintaining that left shoulder blade towards the mat as much as you can, and then take gaze over towards the left. Draw in that inhale as deep as you can, past that twist into your hips. And as you exhale, how quickly can you let go? Let your body soften. Coming back towards center, bringing that left knee out towards the left again, a little back and forth. And then here, just allowing yourself to make any last little bit of movements. Maybe it's a full happy baby since we did half happy baby when we started. Maybe like a little bit more dead bug. Just whatever that movement is, feel free to explore that for a little bit. And once you have gotten all of that movement freed, go ahead and come into your final resting pose. So extending your legs down the length of your mat, letting your feet fall open, bringing your palms up away from your body. So taking up as much space here as you possibly can. Take a deep inhale. Really fill up with breath. And as you exhale, release your jaw, sigh it out. Another one of those. And then allow yourself some space, just a few minutes here, and then I'll bring us out. But just allow this quiet space. And as always, you can spend as much time as you'd like in your corpse pose. And when you're ready, you can make some small movements in your fingers and your toes. Maybe letting those movements become bigger circles in the ankles and the wrists. And when you feel ready, you can inhale, arms overhead, point the toes down the length of the mat. As you exhale, you can bring knees to chest or just soles of the feet towards the mat, whichever feels best to you. Maybe even moving the head from side to side, or you can draw in like a little ball rocking from side to side. And then finding one side that feels really nice to roll over to and just pause briefly. So letting your head rest on your bicep, maybe even taking just a brief moment to once again recall whatever intention or mantra, person, whatever it was, or just a sense of gratitude. And as you're ready, slowly pressing yourself up to any easy seated position. So it can be on the edge of your blanket or towel. You can have some blocks underneath your thighs. Once again, just taking a moment, shifting a little bit from side to side, noticing sits bones onto earth. Noticing how your torso can lift, crown of the head can lift, shoulder blades glide down your back. Palms can be up or down. Just give your head a little gentle bow to your heart. And the quote I leave you with today is from John Muir. And into the forest I go, to lose my mind and find my soul. So I hope you get a chance to go outside, even if you're just stepping outside your door, taking a big deep inhale and an exhale. That's sometimes all you need. Letting the sun hit your face. And again, I thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I love our Sundays. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. And I hope to see you guys soon.